I know you moved on to the game prep, but real quick, how useful was the bye week just for you as a coach to go back and look at some specific things?
We have two of them, and I think they're very useful just to really study yourself, study, when we talk about that, study your personnel. Are we playing the right guys? Are they in the right position? Evaluate their performance based on their tackling, their coverage win percentage, their ability to get off blocks. Heavily evaluate our schemes, what we're calling in certain situations, whether it be by down and distance or by certain personnel groups. So yeah, you spend that entire time reflecting really not only just on the season, but we had like an 8 to 9 week period through training camp, through our first 4 ball games, where you're trying to assess your players, your schemes, and how we best should move forward. So that's essentially all you do.
How do you go about not overreacting to the way that you have to address defending or preventing the big plays that you
Yeah.
saw these days?
Well, the big plays are happening when? In the run game. They're only happening in the run game. So it's very specific. It's not like they're running the ball for 50 yards and throwing the ball for 50 yards. So I think we have a good plan in terms of what we're doing when we think they're going to throw the ball. So we've got to solve the obvious, which is not just the run defense, but the explosive plays that we're giving up in the run defense. And really it comes down to guys being in their gaps, guys having the ability to get off blocks. Credit to the other team. I think I said this to you guys in the past, like I have to evaluate, can they block us? Can we tackle them? And I think through really the Cincinnati game and the Michigan game, because they're the two obviously comparable opponents in terms of talent similar to ours or better, you have to be able to evaluate. And right now we're getting blocked too much and we're not tackling them well enough. And we have to practice that. We have to emphasize that. At times maybe, we got to put more guys in the box, which then, as you know, when it's 11 on 11 and the quarterback's running the ball, the more you put in the box, the more you make yourself susceptible to throws down the field. But we obviously have to address that because that's the elephant in the room. It's Captain Obvious can figure out that we're giving up too many explosive runs.
What kind of challenges does Aiden Childs present to the quarterback?
I think he's a great athlete. He can throw in the pocket. He can throw on the move. He can run design. They have the quarterback draws that we've seen, out of Cincinnati and that we've seen out of Michigan. They have the same exact structure that we've seen. And then they run him a lot in the red zone. And then he takes off a lot just in scrambles. He's very difficult to tackle. You can see he's got strong lower body. And you can see he's a very, very, very good competitor, which, that's really what it comes down to in these games is the competitors stand out, the ones that aren't on your team, the ones that are on their team. And you can see that, much like Sorsby, when you see how well he's competed even after our game, those guys that have it in them and in their heart and they're going to do whatever it takes to win, those are the types of guys you have to make sure you're defending.
Have you guys taken notice that Sorsby, how good he's played since he played him? He's thrown for 975 and 10 TDs since the Nebraska game.
He's thrown for 975 yards and 10 touchdowns since our game. I didn't know that. Well, he's a pretty good player, I guess. I think somebody mentioned it the other day, and one of the guys mentioned, I think more specifically, the Kansas game. They said he threw for almost 400 in the Kansas game, but good for him. He's obviously made the adjustments he's needed to make, but we've really got to focus on us and figuring out a way to stop the run, stop the explosive runs.
You mentioned tackling. Michigan State's backs are 211, 218, and 227 pounds. What's the challenge maybe tackling them, and how do you guys work on tackling wise?
Yeah, I think we work on tackling every single day, even when we're not in pads. So it's all about leverage, angles, and a lot of times the approach. So like too many of our guys at times, like we constantly are hitting them about we're breaking down too soon. And we're not minimizing the space. If you look at the big run that the running back from Michigan had the other day, Marquise was right there to make the tackle, but he broke down way too far. And what happens is you give an athlete a lot of space. He has the chance to make you miss inside or outside. So the next thing is we need to get more guys to the ball. So it's not just about one guy. Like if you look at that run, Marquise didn't make the tackle, but we have to get other guys getting off blocks. That was an 8-man front defense where we have every gap fitted. And sooner or later, you've got to be able to get off a block, make a play, do those types of things. So we've just got to keep emphasizing, keep showing them, being as positive with them as we can, and making sure that as we continue to move forward, the ones that are bought into getting off blocks, winning in their gaps, getting to the ball, tackling, that's the type of guys. And run defense is about an attitude. A lot of times pass defense is about scheme and structure, but run defense is about an attitude, winning in your gap, getting off a block, getting to the ball, being physical and tackling. So we've got to keep emphasizing that and making sure we're getting the right guys on the field to do that.
Do you think the attitude's changed in the last 10 days? Why do you feel like it wasn't quite what you wanted it to be?
I think maybe if I said that, you misinterpreted me. I don't think the attitude was in any way, shape, or form wrong. I think it's just, they presented us with some problems. The running back was a really good player. I think if you looked at him, I think he might be leading and one of the tops in the country in rushing. He's a big, strong, physical back. You mentioned the running backs from Michigan State. And, a back that has power and has elusiveness and has the ability to hit the home run, they're tough to deal with. And that's just about us, again, getting more people around the ball and having more population. So if one guy misses, guys miss tackles all the time, but if one guy misses, somebody's got to be there to overlap and get him on the ground. And that's what we've got to really do a good job of. And what we've really been emphasizing is not just the tackling piece, but the population, getting more people to the ball.
Hey, Coach, with Malcolm's situation, how have you managed that on the back end? And guys like Rex and Donovan, Donovan continue to get a lot of playing time.
Yeah.
With Malcolm's situation.
Yeah, it's unfortunate with Malcolm right now. He's still trying to fight to get back on the field, and obviously he's made some big plays for us throughout his career last year and this year, specifically obviously in the Cincinnati game. But I think our depth in the secondary. You mentioned Rex. He's a developing young player that's playing a lot. You mentioned Donnie, a young player that's playing a lot and playing well for us. So that area really, while every area has to be an area of continued developing, we're not going to overreact and say because we're doing this in the run defense, we don't have to sacrifice time and let our pass defense and our pass rush falter. But, that's obviously an area of strength, both personnel-wise and, systematically. So it's not a concern for us. We're happy with those guys' development. We just got to keep bringing those guys along.
Have you guys, why do you feel we've been so good at taking other teams' tight ends away? It's been a real success point for you guys this year. Obviously, you've taken away all the pass game.
Yeah, I think we've done a good job of taking all their pass catchers away if you look at our statistics in that regard. I think we have guys that can challenge routes. I think, you're not going to be a very good pass defense if you live in the zone coverage world. You'll probably get a couple more interceptions and maybe a couple more plays on the ball. But you have to be either a man coverage or a match coverage team. You have to be able to challenge routes with what you're doing systematically. Make the quarterback, make it hard for him to throw into tighter windows, which we've been doing both against the tight ends, against the backs in the screen game, and then against the wide receivers outside. Now those challenges are going to continue to present themselves as, we feel like that Michigan State's got some really good wideouts that have had some production in their career and a quarterback that can throw it. So I think this will be one of our biggest challenges in that regard. But I think it's just the mindset and the mentality of those players. They're not afraid to contest and challenge, and that's what you have to do. You have to make completions hard.
It felt like Gabe Moore was in that green jersey up until almost the start of the season. How or when did you know that he could give you some snaps despite that?
As soon as we put him in practice. He's a player that's clearly obvious. Some guys you can figure it out right away. Everybody has to develop at their own pace, but he played for us a little bit in the spring and did some things that kind of was like, okay. And then he had a setback injury-wise, I think, over the summer related to his previous knee surgery that led to a hamstring or something of that nature. And he wasn't really able to get out with us. But once we put him back out there, there's a fact of football that big wins. If you're big inside and you're physical, you're going to be harder to block than a little guy. And so when you look at Gabe, he's a big human that plays a good pad level, still has a long way to go from a standpoint of just developing as a player in our scheme. But the second we put him in there, I think it was a 9-on-7, he made a couple plays. He was on a rep count, and then it became like as soon as we can get him back where he can play 3 or 4 plays at a time, we're going to play him because he was going to help us. And I think he's a guy that if he continues to come along will help us on first down, will help us in some of those rundowns, and allow us to stabilize ourselves in our run defense.
Anything else for Coach? Thanks.
Thank you, guys. Have a good day.